Are you looking to improve your sales without resorting to pushy tactics? Welcome to Sales Made Easy, the podcast that helps you to achieve better sales results and gain long-lasting clients through relational selling. Let's get right into it. Are you trustworthy? That's the topic for the Sales Made Easy podcast. I'm Harry Spate. What is the good word? Simple question, are you trustworthy? I'm willing to bet the answer is yes. Of course you are. The problem, though, when it comes to selling is most people view anyone who is selling like every other salesperson. It is hard to trust salespeople unless you really know the person. And by and large, most of us have experienced something like that where we bought it, and after we bought it, we found out it didn't work exactly the way we thought it was going to work. So what do? We are in the position of being a salesperson. If we're a small business owner, speaking to somebody, trying to sell our services, we're in sales. So we are going to be viewed as a salesperson. If we're in sales as a seller, as a salesperson, you know the drill already. So what is it that people are really looking for? Are they looking for a person to come in and tell them how great their product is, how great their support is, and how great their company is? Or are they looking for a person that really listens to them, understands them, and makes a good recommendation? So years ago, I assumed a lot of these things. I can think of opportunities in situations where I knew what the person needed. I ask a couple of some basic questions. I know what they need, and it's going to change their life. The problem with that, though, is that I'm talking too soon about my product and my service. Even though I felt like I was really good at relationships, I was not digging deep enough to see how the person really felt and what mattered to them. So in marriage, over the years, if my wife raised a problem or a challenge, I was problem solver. And she would say things like, I'm not looking for answers. I'm looking for you to listen. So years later, I learned it's like they're going to figure it out. They just want someone to empathize with them and to understand them. Same is true with buyers. They're not looking for the quick fix from the smart salesperson that's got all the answers. They're looking to be understood. And this is true in human nature. So when someone's talking, I can go back to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. One of the lines there, the instruction coming from Stephen Covey is listen, not to respond, but listen to understand. So reflecting is that when I was listening for early on in my sales career and early on in my marriage for that matter, I was listening to know how to respond. And as soon as I heard something that was the problem, I went into, their response has to be fixing the problem. Well, that's, again, not what people are looking for. So in time, I learned that we have to show empathy. We want to understand where people are coming from. And this may mean that we ask additional questions. So a person says, I'm in the market for blank, the product you sell. Instead of saying, I've got that, let me tell you about how great it is, or let me ask you a few discovery questions. Instead, we're going to ask what led them down this path that they feel like this is what they need. Tell me a little bit about what led you here today. And then as they open up, it's like, well, tell me a little bit more about that. And before long, you're hearing the story of the problem that has led them to this particular need that you can solve. But by asking these questions, making good eye contact, being a good listener, and saying things like, tell me more, or wow, that's really interesting, or I understand that kind of challenge. What was that like for you? right? Where we're trying to show that we are a human being and that we have empathy. Empathy is just fellow feeling that we are relatable. So if the person is telling us something that's terrible, and maybe they spend a lot of money, maybe they lost some revenue for their business, maybe somebody got injured, whatever it is, we want to put ourselves in that person's shoes as them. When we can do that, that's what real empathy is. We want to listen to them from their point of view, which puts us in a different zone of listening, if you will. So all of that will help build trust. The more we do that, ask these types of questions, understand the person, what really makes them tick to the best we can, and what they're really looking for, it may not be the lowest price. It may not be the fanciest product out there with all the bells and whistles. It might be, I want a decent product, decent support, and somebody that picks up the phone when I call them. It could be that. Another person might just say, look, I need someone to respond within 4 hours before I lose my mind, because I can't go for more than half a day in my business without some kind of response. Can you guarantee that? Right, so now we really want to understand that. So we could say yes, right off the bat, because we can tell the person is looking for a response. But before we go any further, can I ask you why this is so important to you? What's happened in the past? And I really would like to understand that so that we're on the same page here and I can be of real value for you. Instead of just saying yes, next, it's yes because they want the answer. They don't want a line of BS. So, you have to read the person. Sometimes people will say, well, before I respond, and then you can see the eyes roll, and that means, or a change of their facial expression, that means they are thinking we are avoiding the question. So depending on the situation, I'd like to answer it quickly first and then come back with, tell me more about the situation. So other times I'm just going to say, wow, it sounds like you went through an incredible experience that was very frustrating. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that so I can make sure whatever I say is aligned with what you're looking for here? So I can make sure that I'm in alignment with really what you're looking for based on your past experiences. That's probably a better approach, isn't it? So this is how you build trust. It's not going into, well, you'll never have that problem with us because we do this, right? Because we're not listening. We went from here's the problem now to here's the solution, just like I did back in my early years of my marriage. Here's the problem, honey. You're going to tell me a solution, and that's not what I'm looking for. Same is true of the buyer. Problem, the answer now is listen, dig deeper. Tell me more. What was your experience? What led you down this path? How did this make you feel? Or how did this impact you? Or how did it impact your business? Asking those types of questions show we actually care. I know we care, but we have to show we care. Right? I cared about my wife over the years, but I didn't really show it in those conversations where it's problem, solution. It's problem, listen, dig deeper, ask how you're feeling, what's the impact. You get the idea. This will be much better in your sales relationships. So saying things like, people like me, I'm great with relationships, that may be true, but it doesn't mean that you're getting enough trust built in that sales relationship by you showing you're a great listener, because everyone in sales, no one says I'm a terrible listener, right? So we all say I'm a great listener. We all say I'm great with relationships. The key thing is to actually show it. So we're now going to listen to understand, where is this person coming from? By asking questions, the secondary, the tertiary questions that will dig deeper. What led them down this path? What was going through your mind when you were experiencing all of this? Nodding, making good eye contact, and taking over the conversation at that point. The poor person is opening up is now has to listen to your experience and is saying things like, well, I guess I'm going to get cut off if I bring up something important. If they really want to know how I feel, why are they taking over the conversation? That's what we think. And we nod, we're polite, we're respectful, but we know that you just made it about yourself. So forget about making it about yourself. Be relatable, and being relatable here is being a good listener, asking questions, showing that you're sincerely interested before you start talking about your product and service. But once you get all of this information about this experience, you now can tie it in. This is how you use that information to sell that works with what the buyer's interests are. If they went through a bad experience, now you know that whatever it is you say, it's got to go deeper than my promises are good. You can trust me. That's just not going to cut it, because there's no doubt previous salespeople have said the same thing. And this person is now looking for something more. So I'm going to share with you, and take it for what it's worth, right? But the proof will be in the pudding. So you say things like that, and then ask if, when you ask permission, it's like, can I share you a little bit about my company based on what you said was important to you? And you said this, right? And whatever that is, now let me just share with what our company does in this situation. But I'm going to go a little bit further here. And once I share that, I'm going to ask, how does that sound? And they can say, it sounds great. Does that mean they believe you? No, it does not mean that they believe you just because you said it. So you might have to ask, what would you like to see for what I just said to be something you can actually count on? And ask that question and see what they say. And they said, well, I really don't know. I said, would a conversation with one of my clients help out? If I connected you two and you had a few questions to ask, would that be of value to you? Or would it mean speaking to my support team? Whatever it is, I want to make that connection to help you to see why this is not going to happen if you work with us. And if it were to happen, we are going to get it resolved very quickly. I'm not saying it's a perfect world. Sometimes stuff happens. It's not a perfect world, but you'll see that we recover quickly for you. How does all of that sound? Now, you might have other ways of doing this, but the point is we have to go into the place as to where your potential buyer is. If we're really good at relationships, this becomes about them, that we're not listening to respond, but we're listening to understand. And then we tailor our questions to dig deeper. We're making good eye contact. We're showing that we're listening, and we're asking the follow-up questions, showing that we really care. From that point on, we can then sell our product or service based on what they said was important to them. When you do this, your relationship is going to be different than the other folks that are selling in a competitive situation. I'm pretty convinced that there are so few people truly asking these types of questions and digging deeper and building trust that you're going to stand out. And it may come down to this point, is that in the sale, you might say something like, and I've said this for years, that there is a lot of things that are going to be coming at you. If all things were equal, who would you want to do business with? And if the answer is you, then that means they have trusted you. They have built up trust in you based on how you've handled the situation. If they say things like, well, it's really hard to say, that's not a good sign, right? Because the trust isn't there, right? You are now being viewed more as a transaction or a commodity. So this is all extremely important. Who would you want to do business with? It's you hands down, but your price seems so much higher. Then we go back to those earlier conversations and find out what's important to them. And then we sell the gap of what the price is versus what they're seeing. And then we work down that path if we need to. So hopefully that helps. Are you a trustworthy relationship person when it comes to sales? The key comes down to listening to understand, asking great questions, showing we care, truly empathizing with people. Good things are going to happen. Thanks for listening to the Sales Made Easy podcast. I hope this helps. And if this is valuable, please like and share it with your friends. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening to Sales Made Easy. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and share it with your friends. Also, you're invited to join the Facebook group Sales Training Selling with Dignity. Serve first, the selling will follow.